everyone. So this is just going to be a quick overview of how the farm works, and then I'm going to go into a tutorial in a separate world of how to build it sort of step by step. But this is like a sort of just a quick and dirty if you don't want to go through a tutorial and you want to kind of figure out how you want to do it yourself. Um, this is sort of how it works. So there's a drop chute in the center of the farm that is at Y25 when you're standing on top of it, or you can do like Y24. I think in the tutorial, because I just recorded the tutorial, I said Y24. It doesn't really matter as long as it's about Y25, Y24 level. You don't want to go any higher because then the Guardians might not die from the fall. The actual bottom layer where the soul sand is at Y41. And then that goes all the way up to the roof, which is at Y64. And then the AFK platform is at Y148. So that's the sort of like positions, like the main positions you want to worry about. As far as how the actual farm works, the Guardians get pushed up by the soul sand, as you can see, into the sort of funneling layer that gets pushed, that then pushes them into the center, into the drop chute, and they die of fall damage. There's no sort of any transportation systems for the Guardians to like carry them to a different place where they're gonna actually be killed off, because that takes a while, and that causes the Guardians to sort of take up more of the mob cap, and that kind of wrecks the efficiency of the farm somewhat. This is the most straightforward way. It's also easy to build because you just build a big like hexagon up and down, and you dig down into the sort of drop chute, and that's it. The way the drop chute actually works is down below we have a hopper minecart collection system right below the sort of drop chute platform, and then that goes into these dispensers that all dispense the drops out into this sort of item highway, which then goes into an elevator, which then goes up to a sorting system here, which you can figure out your own sorting system. This is just something that I came up with, and this is right next to the farm here in this hexagon shape. But yeah, that's sort of how the farm works. I'm gonna give you a quick sort of demonstration of like the drop rates of the farm in creative mode, and then hopefully you'll be able to see. As you can see, a lot of Guardians get spawned. Like the startup time of the farm is pretty quick, and the drop rate is pretty good for a Guardian farm. It's not the best out there because it's obviously just a normal sort of standard design. It's not using any nether portals or anything. You also can't use looting with this farm, and you can't use it for XP. It's strictly for drops. If you want to use XP, instead of having a drop chute, you could have them funnel into a central tunnel at the bottom, and then on that central funnel you can have like a mob elevator going up to this level, and then have a player killing them at this level with a looting sword. But you have to like sort of be careful because of thorns damage on the Guardians and all that. So this is the easiest way to just get a lot of prismarine for building and a lot of sea lanterns for building. So yeah, if you still want a tutorial, I'll now go into the tutorial. Okay, so first we're gonna need to find an ocean monument, and I've sort of like drained most of it except for the seagrass, just to show you exactly how the bounding box works. So as you can see, like everything that is highlighted cyan here is actually part of the bounding box of the fortress, or of the ocean monument. So anything that's outside of this bounding box will not spawn Guardians. So as you can see, the bounding box actually ends on sort of the bottom of this platform, which is where our farm is going to be located. The floor of our farm is actually going to be this layer. So this is where the soul sand of our farm is going to be located. And where exactly you build your tank doesn't actually matter as long as it's inside of this bounding box. So I'll just show you, like, the bounding box is exactly the corner of the actual structure. From the level 40 of the corner all the way up to level, I believe it's, let's just check. So right now we're at 62, so up to 61 of the other corner. So from Y40 to Y61, from corner to corner, is where Guardians are able to spawn inside of the Ocean Monument. So once you drain the perimeter, you want the perimeter to take up the whole bounding box, because we don't want Guardians to be spawning outside of our spawning tank, and because of that we need to empty out all of the water outside of this bounding box. So now I'll come back once I sort of clear everything out, and we're going to start actually building the farm, and I'll show you how that goes. Now that the monument is all cleared out, I've left the top layer just to show you where the center of the monument was, just so you can have some reference. We can pick any one of these sort of four blocks to be the center of our farm, because the tank is actually centered on one block. That doesn't actually matter too much, because you can center your perimeter as well, and it's going to look fine, because we just want the tank to be somewhere inside of the spawning area of the fortress, the bounding box. So let's say this is our center. What we do is we actually dig out 4 blocks in each direction in one of the directions, and then the other direction we dig out 5 blocks instead. So the place where we dig out 4 blocks is actually going to be the flat side of our hexagon, whereas this direction is going to be where the point of the hexagon is going to be. So once we do that, we actually build a sort of wall around this place, along where we dug everything out. And we want this sort of area to have a rounded kind of corner, like this. Just like that. And then this is where our sort of drop chute is going to be. So this is where the Guardians are going to drop down and die. We're going to dig this down all the way to Y24, which is where we're going to place our bottom layer of blocks, and then under that we're going to have hopper minecart collecting the drops. I'm not actually going to do that. You can do that yourself. It's pretty simple. You just dig down, and you want to dig down all of these blocks, right? So you don't want to you don't want to leave any of those blocks that are inside of this sort of frame there, because then the Guardians will, not take damage. You want all of these blocks gone, all the way to Y24. Now, the start of our spawning platform is actually going to be on Y41. So this is Y40. This is where our actual start of the spawning platform is going to be, this level here. So if you have some soul sand, this is where we're going to place soul sand, right? This is going to be the bottom of our tank. Now, how we build the tank is we're actually going to place 7 soul sand from this side and 7 soul sand from this side outward. So I'm going to show that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this is where the wall of our tank is going to be, right? And the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this is where the wall of our tank is going to be. And remember I said, because this is the sort of shorter side and this is the longer side, our point is going to face this way. So because you can see there's 4 blocks like this. This is going to be the point. And from the point, we're going to have 1 block like this. And then 2 blocks like this. So we're going to make a sort of a fat arrow type of shape. And then we're going to keep building 2 blocks, a 2 block slope like this until we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 of these. And then here we're going to build 17 blocks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And the way you can check is this block, the third block out, should line up with this side. That's how you check to make sure that is correct. And then here again, you build six of these sort of two long diagonals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you do a 3 and a block here. You don't have to have this block here, but it kind of gives the hexagon a nice point, so I like it to be there. Or sorry, this point should be here. No? Oh, that's right. No, this point should be here, like this. Yeah, there we go. Just like on that side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a point, and then we just fill this block in, right? And then again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again 17 blocks, which should overrun sort of this thing by 2. So here I can see that I ran over. And then that should connect up nicely with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So that's our sort of spawning platform, and then these walls also build up to the same height that you build up the outside walls, and make sure to fill in the corners. These corners need to be filled in like this. They have to, otherwise the guardians will get stuck. And I'll explain the reason why once we get to the top layer, where the actual water funnel is going to be. So we build this up, and then this area, this bottom layer, all gets filled in with sandstone. So I'm going to fill this in with sandstone, and then I'll show you how to actually fill up the tank once it's built up. Okay, now that the bottom layer is filled in, you can actually go ahead and build these walls up. We're going to build these walls up to a level of Y60. So I'm going to show you how that's going to look. This is the level we're going to build this up, so when we're standing in the top, our Y coordinate is Y60. And this is going to be sort of the top layer of our tank. That's going to be the same as all the other layers. And then above that is going to be our actual funneling layers that we're going to build. And I'm going to show you how that works. But as for actually, once you build up the walls, how do we fill up this tank easily? Because it's not a very intuitive sort of shape to use, right? To fill up with buckets. Normally, if you are filling up a sort of rectangular tank, you would have a sort of like grid-like type of formation like this, and that will fill up the full square. But for a hexagon, it kind of works a little bit differently. The most efficient way that I found how to fill it up is you get a bunch of ice, and then you sort of place like a V-type shape like this on the sort of pointy side. And then what you do is you skip 1, and then you do a run of 3 diagonals. You skip 1, do a run of 3 diagonals. And then here you do every other block on the flat side. Right? And then you do the same thing here. You do like a V shape. You do 3 diagonal, 3 diagonal. Right? 3 diagonal, 3 diagonal. And then you do again, like you fill this part. And the good thing about ice is that you can sort of fill all of this in, and once you fill in the walls, you can sort of build up columns of ice, and then you just break the ice and it fills it in top to bottom, or bottom to top. And you don't need to do anything weird with like kelp and stuff, as long as you have enough ice. And yeah, so that's how you sort of fill in the whole place. Once the ice melts, or once you break it with like a pickaxe or something, this will flood fill the whole area here, and all of it is going to be solid blocks. Now, I'm probably not going to fill the whole tank, because I'm going to provide a world download for this, so you can look at it in closer detail if you need to. But now I'm just going to go and show you how you actually build the top part here on this level, which is going to be the funnel where the guardians hit the top and then sort of fall down. once you build everything up to y60, which is where we're standing now, right now our coordinates are y60, as you can see at the top of the screen there. We can now start building the funnel layer. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna build up the wall one more layer, but we're not actually gonna fill it with water this time, not yet. What we're actually gonna do is we're gonna fill this layer completely with some sort of temporary block like dirt um, or like stone or something, right? But not something like sand, not like a gravity block. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to now start working on the funneling system of the farm. And for that, we're going to need to create a water stream that flows inwards on top of this existing water. So what's going to happen is we're going to first fill this layer with dirt, and then once we're done with the funneling system, we're going to replace the dirt with water the same way that we did with all of these layers by using ice. So let me just go ahead and build everything up, and then I'll show you how we do the funneling layer. Okay, so we filled this top layer with dirt, and when we're standing on top of it, we're at y60, well, y61. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna build the outside wall one more layer, but not the inside chute wall, because this is where the guardians are gonna be funneled into the drop chute. So we build up the wall one more layer. Like that. And the way that we place dirt is somewhat specific, or I mean the way we place the water down is somewhat specific. We're actually going to want to fill in sort of these flat rows completely on all four sides, like that. And we forgot a block there, but that's fine. And what you'll notice once we do that is the water kind of, well, first off, it doesn't flow all the way to the edge, and second off, the water in the corners sort of flows into the corners, and then if anyone gets stuck here, then they're not going to actually funnel in. But then if we place water everywhere along the corners, then the whole layer is going to start flooding and turn into source blocks, which we don't want. So what we do instead is once we place everything on the edges along this flat edge and this flat edge, now we just place water source blocks in the sort of corners here, 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 and here. And once we do that all the way around, the water will, it won't have any dead space in the corners anywhere because all the corners are filled, and it'll flow right to the edge of our drop chute like this. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to add the glass pane here, 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 like along these edges here, and along these edges here, and in this corner. Now, the reason we're adding glass panes is because the guardians are actually going to be pushed to the edge, and because there's a glass pane here, they're going to start falling as soon as they get off the glass pane right here. And they won't detect that they're about to fall. If these glass panes were solid blocks, like somewhere here, right? If this is a solid block, the guardian will detect that it's about to fall down, and it'll start jumping into back into the water against the stream. And we don't want this to happen because we want the guardians to die as fast as possible. Which means if guardians get stuck like that, they're not getting killed, which means the space in the mob cap is not getting freed up for new guardians to spawn, so our drop rates are slowed down significantly. So that's why we want the glass panes to be here. Now, the reason we don't fill in the blocks in the sort of corner over here and over here is because, well, one, these blocks don't actually matter because the guardians are not going to be stuck here. Because they'll be pushed either to this corner or to this block here, and if they are pushed through these two corners, like through the corner like here, they're probably gonna jump somewhere and then push to these corners anyway. So we might see like maybe a percentage or so slowdown from these two blocks. But the more critical reason is because in a second we're gonna replace these dirt blocks with water. Now, if these are glass panes, when the dirt is water, right? Let's say we have water here and water here and water here, they're going to get waterlogged. And because these two panes get waterlogged, this pane also gets waterlogged. And because this pane gets waterlogged, we have leakage into the drop chute, which means the Guardians are not going to die to fall damage because they're going to fall in the water. So we don't want these glass panes to be there. We want them to be solid blocks because of that. And now, if you do happen to get this problem because you placed anything, you just want to destroy the glass pane, replace it with a solid block, like that, and then replace the solid block with a glass pane, and then you're back to where you want to be. So this is the sort of funnel area. And then if we sort of go here, and we replace the dirt with water, we can see we have a perfectly functioning Guardian tank, where if we go down below, the Guardians will be sort of pushed up like this, and then get to the edge, and they won't be able to swim back down because they're being pushed by the sand over there, and then they're going to be pushed over the edge, and they'll fall down into the drop chute and die. So that's the basic principle of the farm. What you want to do at the end here is you actually want to build up to probably Y64, so you can have one block space here so the Guardians don't fly out and they stay here. And you want to cover up the spawning area like this with blocks. And the reason you want to do that, right, and you want to fill in the wall as well, the outside wall. You don't want to fill the wall here anymore. This is the extent of that wall. And the reason you want to do that is because Guardians actually spawn more efficiently if the water that they spawn in doesn't have direct access to sunlight. So if the spawn tank has a roof, the Guardian spawns actually become a lot more efficient. So here, if I go to normal difficulty, right now we might see like a couple of Guardian spawns like here or there, right? Yeah, like we get a pretty decent amount of Guardian spawning, right? But then once we actually build up our roof on top of this place, we're gonna see a lot more Guardian spawning, like multiple times more. So that's why I want to build a roof up. Now I'm actually gonna build up the roof because you can all figure out how to do that. What I'm gonna show you now is where we're gonna build the spawning platform. So because this area is centered, we can actually center our spawning platform as well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna build up to Y148. The reason we're gonna build up to Y148 is because we want the Guardians to take up 100% of the mob cap if we can help it. Which means we don't want zombies and skeletons and spiders to take up any of the mob cap that could otherwise be taken up by the Guardians. So when we're standing here, our actual mob spawn sphere that is around us only takes up the space of the spawning tank and the bottom of the drop chute. And that's as far away as mobs can possibly spawn for us when we're standing here. That means any of the caves that are underground are not going to be legal ground for mobs to spawn, which means no other mobs are taking up the mob cap outside of Guardians and any mobs that are spawning inside of the perimeter, which means you're going to have to light up the perimeter. So once we build up a sort of spawning platform here, the reason we don't want to go any higher is because we want the mob sphere to actually reach down toward the bottom of our drop chute, which is going to be about how much further, like here, right? So we want the mob radius to actually reach down here to Y24 when the Guardians die. which it actually does from Y148. It actually, I think it's like almost exactly enough, maybe by a couple of blocks, because I think the spawn sphere is either 128 or 124 blocks away from the player. So this is like almost as far as we can go. Um, and yeah, that's basically the end of the farm. Um, Again, you can experiment with different shapes as well. I'm actually thinking of making a different farm that's circular instead of a, or designing one. I probably won't make it in survival, but one that's circular instead of hexagonal, so you can experiment with different shapes. But this sort of principle of having like a drop chute in the center and things funneling into it from the outside should work for pretty much any shape. It should work for like rectangular farms as well if you really wanted to. Um, and it should be relatively it should be relatively efficient because there's no sort of like horizontal sort of water pathways that the guardians fall down into and then get funneled into a different drop chute or get funneled up into a kill chamber. They all sort of fall down and die almost instantly. So you get a lot of spawns constantly happening in the farm, which adds to the efficiency. And again, you can build more than one tank if you want to, just as long as they're inside of the actual bounding box of the fortress, which now looking at it, it's pretty big, so maybe you can fit in like 2 of these if you wanted to. Um, but yeah, I hope this is helpful. Again, I'll leave a link to the world download in the description. I also just wanted to add like a quick final note of like how the layers should look. So this is how the sort of bottom layer of the farm should look with like how you fill it in with water, and like this is the sort of horizontal slice of the actual spawning tank, right? So you can like use this as a reference if you want to build it, if you want to like have it on the second monitor or whatever. You can pause here and sort of look at how everything's laid out. Um, and then here is the sort of top sort of funneling layer where the sea lanterns represent where you should be placing the water to make it all funnel perfectly. And then you can see like where the sort of glass panes should go and everything. So yeah, hope this is helpful in some way.